Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for I Gopher You, and with me today is my good friend Matt Hunter. Say hi.
Oh, no, after you. I insist.
No, after you, I insist.
Oh, no, after you. Age before beauty.
That'll be the entire review, just 10 hours of us saying, I insist, no, you, no, you. There we go. It's good for the algorithm, I hear. Yes, quite.
Yes, quite indeed.
Indeed. But just to get things started, as mentioned, this is I Go For You, released on the 30th of January 1954. It's the 701st in the series and it's directed by Friz Freeling. There is a HD restoration out there. At the time of this recording, it's not a physical media yet, and I don't see why it wouldn't be at some point in the future, possibly in a future Collector's Choice volume, but we will see what happens. Very safe.
I hope we can own a copy of it soon. It's a pretty good one.
Exactly, and you will not find it on YouTube. It's under copyright, so yeah, don't bother looking if that's what you're trying to look for. But in case you haven't seen this one, this is a different kind of Goofy Gopher short, because up until now you've had Goofy Gophers up against some sort of antagonist, right? In here, there is no antagonist. It's them versus their environment, and in this case, it's the Ajax vegetable factory, like a processing factory of some sort, and that's pretty much it. Although, in saying that, it's not a bad thing, but yeah, it's different. Definitely different.
Right. And it is, unless you look at all the other Warner Brothers cartoons that involve factories. It seems like all the directors really did something with a factory. They were impressed with modern technology in manufacturing and all technical stuff that went along with it. And for some reason, there was a perfect pairing, and that was with the composer Raymond Scott, this tune called Powerhouse. And it fit cartoons so well. And Warner Brothers composer Carl Stalling picked up on that. And there are countless Warner Brothers cartoons that involve factories. And whenever there's a factory, kind of like, what's the tune, California, Here I Come, whenever there's a train going anywhere, Carl Stalling would use Raymond Scott's Powerhouse to score factory scenes. And this one is kind of a combination of those and then SWAT gag cartoons that had come before. Friz Freeling did two cartoons right in a row starring a character called Blabbermouse. Blabbermouse was kind of Sniffles, but kind of not. And it was these things where they were going on a conveyor belt and looking at stuff in a department store, and there were spot gags with various technologies and things like that. So it's interesting to see that Freeling did 3 or 4 Goofy Gopher cartoons kind of right in the middle of the 50s. And this was after Bob Clampett had created them and after Art Davis had taken over and pretty much perfected them with a cartoon called Two Gophers from Texas. There was a cartoon by Kimson kind of in the middle there. For some reason, there was a renewed interest in them in early 1950s. Friz Freeling did one, and then he took a little break from it. And he did 3 of them right in a row. I don't know why. I don't know what the sudden attraction was, but it could have been just the partnership between Mel Blanc and Stan Freberg. Mel was Mac and Freberg was Tosh, or maybe it's the other way around because we've never really known which one is Mac and which one is Tosh. But maybe you can tell the difference?
No, honestly, that's probably my only criticism of this short, if I have anything really to criticize, is that I keep mixing up who's who in this short because they look the same. But anyway, I keep thinking who's Mac and who's Tosh,
and really, who
yeah,
cares? But again, this cartoon taps into the Warner Brothers tradition of factory cartoons. And after this, like probably 10 years after this, actually, Freeling would do more of this kind of stuff. There's one in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, one of the last ones, that's called The Unmentionables, where Bugs Bunny is playing an Elliot Ness role and trying to track down the mafia. And of course, it's Rocky and Muggsy, and they end up in a breakfast cereal factory. And we get a couple of gags kind of like
yeah.
this. And then there's one around the same time that was Speedy Gonzales and Sylvester, and they go into a food cannery, and similar hijinks ensue. And I don't know that this one is actually any better or worse than either of those. And, for 1960s cartoons, those are pretty good. I just think Freeling did a pretty good job with this one. It's not remarkable. It's not a standout. It's not like, wow, this is the best cartoon I've ever seen. But, like you said, if it's on, you'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fine. This is one of those few shorts where most of the shorts I'm nostalgic for the ones that I've owned on VHS when I was little, and I would keep rewatching them over and over again. And when Cartoon Network finally came to Australia, I was sort of becoming a teenager and all that, so I didn't really watch it too much. But when I did, and I happened to have Looney Tunes on, this was one of them that I would watch a few times, and I remembered this. I just forgot the name until now. Oh, and speaking of the name, just another bit of trivia, and this should be obvious, but I do have to mention it anyway. I Gopher You is basically I go for you. That's a pun on that saying, I guess it's like a lovey-dovey kind of
Yeah.
at the time.
There's like corny Valentine cards that's like, I go for you, And then there's also a term in corporate America, at least, it's called a gopher, which is spelled either gopher, like traditionally like the rodent, or like Gofer. It's like, I go for something, like I go fetch things for you. It's like, okay, I go for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and speaking of Valentine's Day cards, we know the best one, and I hope Manny's watching right now. Our good friend Manny Cruz, the 2D tenor.
I choose you. Yes.
Choose you.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Chef's kiss to that one, but it's a similar kind of thing anyways. But I reckon we take a look at this short because, again, it's not the most remarkable thing in the world, but it's got a lot of funny bits in it, and I quite enjoy it. That title card, the drawings of the Gophers, I noticed in recent Freeling shorts, he's got these really weird title cards that seemingly have got nothing to do too much with what happens in the short. I wonder who's the artist of these title cards recently.
I don't know. Let's see. Background's Irv Weiner. So I would assume it would have been him.
Could have been him. Because look at Dog Pounder. Dog Pounder is a similar thing where you've got this title card with a dog catcher and these dogs. But yeah, I wonder who did it.
I don't know. The style looks like, you ever read that children's author when you were a kid, Richard Scarry? That almost, it's very much his style. I never even thought about it until you brought it up. But yeah, that's a really interesting title card. They're rendered in a very storybook style.
So I'm not sure why it's happening in these Freeling shorts, but whatever. That's still pretty cool looking. But we're not here to look at only title cards, are we? We're going to be having a look at the short itself. And we've got this nice little introduction showing the kinds of characters the Gophers are and how they're ready to harvest. And the characteristics are more play on vaudeville. I forgot the names of the particular actors that did this, but there was definitely an act where you had these two overly polite gentlemen that would be always like, after you, after you.
Don't you think our vegetables have done very well this year? Oh my, very well indeed. Good care, and no inclement weather. Do you think we might harvest? Yes, I do. I really do. That is, if you think so too.
And that's what they're playing on here and all the other
Yeah,
movies.
it was a radio act, and there were these two characters called Alphonse and Gaston. And there's all kinds of information you can look up about that. But yeah, that's what they were based on. That's what the original creator was, Bob Clampett. And he based it on, he based a lot of his stuff on radio, because Bob Clampett was like the walking encyclopedia of radio. You look at his cartoons and all the references to old radio shows. It's astounding. It really is. But so much of that transcended its original source material.
Exactly. So we get a little introduction, and then they're like, we're going to now harvest, but oh no, the vegetables are now taken away. Those fiends, how dare they, right? And once again, the timing is beautifully done, as Freeling is known for his timing. Fantastic stuff, as always.
Vandals, they've confiscated all our vegetables. Very apparent. And there they are.
We never see a single human character. In fact, we never see another flesh and blood character in this cartoon, except for the two Gophers. The Ajax Vegetable Company is the enemy. And not Acme, Ajax, which is interesting. Ajax was a real product, actually. I don't know if it was from the same period, but it's a cleaning product. Has bleach in it, I believe. They use for toilets and bathtubs and stuff like that. And there was a whole radio and TV jingle that was like bum 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 Ajax, and of course that's named after a warrior in Greek mythology. I think it was in the Homer's Iliad. I think was the warrior Ajax, so that's what it's named after. But a little bit of trivia for you there. But,
You learn all sorts of things in this channel, including Greek
mhm.
mythology right there.
It's all Greek to me.
I gotta say, I love the backgrounds, and as you say, the only two flesh and blood characters we really ever see in this short are the two Gophers, but I like how this factory's designed. In fact, this factory's like a character on its own, and it's done so well. It's not stylized like you would see in maybe a Chuck Jones short, but it does the job. It's
Yeah.
functional.
Yeah, and I don't know a whole lot about Irv Weiner as the guy who did the backgrounds, or at least he's credited in this cartoon, but very, very stylized, yet functional at the same time. It's stylized enough that it looks cool, but it's realistic enough that you believe it. So, like the scene here I'm looking at where the tomatoes are being ground into ketchup by machine, Gophers are sitting up on kind of a catwalk looking at it, and it's really a well-designed cartoon. Gotta say that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, so having a look, of course, Powerhouse. What else are we going to hear
Right.
when we get this factory? What else are we going to hear?
And then they dun 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 dun. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just noticing the bottle cap bit where one of the Gophers gets a bottle cap put on his head. That was practically the whole premise of the later cartoon that Freeling did with Sylvester and Speedy Gonzales in the same kind of situation. Sylvester gets a bottle cap stuck on his head and then he can't get it off. Now the Gophers resolve it quicker than Sylvester.
And I should point out to people as well that unlike today, where most of the bottle tops are just those twist tops that you can get, back then, just about all the bottle tops were like this, where you needed a literal bottle opener to
get it off.
even just they were all metal like that. And I guess capitalism and all that stuff, they changed it down to plastic twisty tops. And I guess for some beers and all that stuff, they still use this kind of a bottle top. That's my way of saying that this channel will now be Anthony's bottle top
Right.
channel or bottle top talk or something. But no, it's true. That's actually what the bottle tops were at the time. And yeah, it got changed later on.
Yep. Now they're all twist off, even a lot of beer. But occasionally you'll run into an independently crafted soda or beer or something that doesn't have a twist off, and you have to have an actual bottle opener. You even look at the can openers in this cartoon.
Oh, thank you so much. You're quite welcome.
Where one of the Gophers gets stuck in a can, and the other has to open all the other cans, and he's using this almost like boring-looking can opener. It's like, what is that? Of course, now you get one that clamps down on the side of the can. You turn a crank, and it does it. This one, you had to like stab the can multiple times to get it open. And that's how they did it back in the 50s, I guess. It's really kind of like antiquated technology. You look at these cartoons and it's like telephones now. You look at how telephones used to work in the old days and you'd see them in cartoons. It's like they call the candlestick telephone. You put one piece to your ear and you talk into a microphone. And of course now it's just a brick you hold in your hand and it's wireless and you just text or call somebody. And wow, technology.
Exactly. But I do wonder if, see, I love this dad joke, by the way, the whole talcum powder on eggs. I wonder if they still make powdered eggs this way,
Right?
It's like, oh, yeah, because for people that don't get it, because some of the younger generation may not, you had the ladies' powder room. And of course, they would have the talcum powder. So, powdered eggs. That's the pun there. For
And
those who aren't
baby
aware.
powder. You powder a baby's bottom before you put the diaper on them. It wicks away moisture. So, yeah, and of course, powdered eggs was dehydrated eggs. And that was a thing that dehydrated food in general, I think, came about for World War II. Because my grandfather, my oldest grandfather, he rest his soul, he passed away in 96, but he used to tell the story about how he would never eat powdered eggs ever again, and he would also never eat Spam, because those were products that they would have for breakfast every day when he fought in Japan. And they would airlift them to him on this hot, steamy island in Japan called Saipan, is the island that he fought on, he told me about. And he said, you know what, the only thing worse than seeing how barbaric the Japanese were that he was fighting was that he had to eat breakfast every morning from reconstituted, dehydrated, powdered eggs and canned ham. He hated it. He absolutely hated it. He said, if I ever get off this island, I'm never eating this again.
And I gotta say, the next gag after the powdered eggs, I wonder if somebody always used to eat steak, but used to always maybe scrape off the vegetables or the mushrooms and that, and hence why we got this gag where the mushrooms were just reused from the steak,
I
you
don't
know?
know. Maybe Freeling didn't like mushrooms. There's that whole gag that he did with Hold the Onions in
Yeah.
the ant cartoons, especially. Whenever you have a cartoon by Freeling with ants and they're making a sandwich, just like Hold the Onions, you know? And you don't see that in any other director's cartoons, just Friz Freeling. And I'm wondering if he just really didn't like onions. It would be
Yeah.
something that I wish I could go back in time and ask him. Hey, Mr. Freeling, sir, most important historical question I could ever ask you, sir. Big fan. Why did you have so many gags about Hold the Onions?
Yes.
You know?
And he would then get into a temper and tell you off and go about his merry way because he was famously
Right,
temperamental.
right.
But
I
anyway.
don't know why you're asking me that, kid.
Yeah, it'd be like that probably, I would say. But it's still an interesting gag, but it must be an in-gag too. But we then get to the tomatoes, however guys want to say that.
Tomato, call the whole thing off, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, you got this weird gag where, okay, one of the Gophers, again, I keep mixing up who's who in this short, but anyway, one of the Gophers, he ends up in a can, and they got this weird gag where the other one's trying to find him. You'd think the other one would yell out, so it's like, okay, Marco Polo kind of thing. They're trying to narrow it down. But it ends up being the last one. Oh, it would have been the first if you went the right way
Right.
round. So
Well,
it's like,
if a gopher screams in a can and no one's around to hear it, does he really scream in the can? Maybe
Like-
his friend, partner, brother, whatever Macintosh's relationship was. I assume they're brothers, but they're twins, I think. But yeah, anyway, how did one not hear the other? Well, he's in a can, so maybe they can't hear him.
Oh, thank you so much. It was very confining in there. You're very welcome. But why did you have to be in the last can? But I wasn't. I was in the first can. You started from the wrong end.
I thought it was just so bizarre after all this effort. You'd think someone would have noticed by now that there's one Gopher's opening up all the cans for this delivery to a client, but you go with it. You just leave it. You just leave it. And yeah, okay, we get the pickling water. And for those who aren't aware, there's a term about being pickled.
Yeah.
In
fact, there's a cartoon, I think either Freeling directed or produced it, but there's a cartoon called Pink Panther cartoon called Pickle Pink. Involves the Pink Panther doesn't get drunk, but he interacts with a drunk guy who tries to bring the Pink Panther home with him from a bar, and his wife heckles him and all that. Called Pickled Pink, involving Pink Panther and a drunk guy. So yeah, it's trivia again.
There we are. But and I do like the look of the gopher again. Which one it is, I don't know. But it's got this nice little look of it being pickled, and the gag is funny on its own. But I like the fact that it does lead on to the next gag, which is the timing, the beautiful Friz Freeling timing of wandering around drunk on the machinery and not getting hurt. It's just perfection right there.
Well, it's almost a throwback to 1930s Fleischer, the Popeye cartoon, where olive oil is sleepwalking, a dream walking. And again, that was a cartoon cliche even by this point. Somebody walking around in a daze in a dangerous situation. The bit where the gopher walks through the vegetable chopper and comes out unscathed. Freeling did that again in the Speedy cartoon later on. Yeah.
What? Are you telling me that Friz Freeling reuses stuff?
Oh, never.
Nah,
Never.
That's crazy.
Oh, never.
Never. No, he never reuses stuff. But anyway, whatever. If it's funny, it's fine. It's fine. But the end result of all of this drunken walking is the dehydrator machine, which I'm sure that this is not how it actually works in real life.
No.
Dehydrating vegetables. Okay, it makes whole meals in packet form, which I'm sure your grandfather would have probably preferred this kind of dehydrated food. At least looks much more nutritious
Right, exactly,
than what he
exactly.
would have gotten.
Than what he got in the army in World War II.
My goodness, I was almost a turkey dinner, wasn't I? You certainly were.
So they get all this dehydrated stuff and they bring it back, and then the absurdity of it, they put all these dehydrated food packages back in the garden, and then they turn on the water. The garden explodes, and there's all these rehydrated vegetables again. Like they're ever going to eat all that.
Yeah, no, of course not. And again, got to put aside the fact that how did he even get it there in the first place? But whatever, cartoon logic, we just
Oh.
go with it, of course. But it's a nice little ending, but I think we
Yeah.
pretty much covered it. There's not really too
No.
much to it.
And I don't know if we want to give it a
No.
rating. I would say like, I don't know, 6 out of 10. It's not memorable really, but it's not unmemorable. It's a good one.
I think 7 out of 10. It's just a perfectly functional, okay cartoon that's fun to watch if it's on, and
Yeah.
that's it. So, yeah, I think 7 out of 10 would be fair, because, and a lot of that's just due to that some of the jokes are funny. Powdered Eggs, that got it from a 6 to a 7, okay, in case you were
Okay,
wondering. It's the
okay,
Powdered
yeah,
Egg
yeah.
gag, okay.
It's not Art Davis's Two Gophers from Texas, which I think is a masterpiece. I think it's the best Goofy Gophers cartoon, like bar none. That's funny.
Agreed.
You know,
I agree.
you're
I
not going to
agree,
look
yeah.
at this one and just laugh your butt off like with that one, but this one, passable. It's okay.
Exactly, it's fine. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
Oh, no, after you.
I insist.
Oh, no,
after you.
after you. You can't say that's all, folks, until I say it, or you say it. I don't know. Who's supposed to say it?
You know, we're going to have a terrible time getting all this food back into the packages. Terrible. Just terrible.